Alexandra, maybe you can share the slide, the cover slide.
I'm letting people in and then I'll share.
Ciao, buongiorno.
Good morning.
Buongiorno, morning.
Hi, morning.
Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
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 Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Hello.
Hi. See you.
Good morning.
Okay, I think we are ready to start it now.
Yes. All right. Okay. Good morning, everyone. And let us start our webinar. Let me just say we are very, very happy to have you all here. This is great to have so many people. My name is Elena Dubinina. I am the project manager from the European Association of the Via Francigena for the DETOUR project. And I'm very happy to welcome you here. As a matter of fact, we had over 100 registrations for this webinar. Of course, from our member states, the member states of the project, from Italy, Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey, but also from other European countries like France and Spain, Sweden, as well as some people from the UK and from the USA. So we are very happy to welcome you here. And of course, as you know, our webinar is conducted in the framework of the European project DETOUR, in particular under its Train the Trainer activity. And we're very happy to welcome all the trainers who participate in this webinar. Thanks a lot for your time. As you know, this webinar is focused on the tourism diversification and the economic impact of walking routes. And that is why we are very excited to have some very interesting speakers from the European Commission, from the UN Tourism, from the European Travel Commission, and from the DETOUR project partners, such as Municipality of Fidenza and the Cultural Society, who will be speaking. But other project partners from Greece and Turkey, Italy, and Bulgaria are also with us. So in case anyone in the audience would have any particular technical questions to our partners, also don't hesitate. Just before we start, a few technical announcements. We all kindly ask you to be muted during the presentation, just not to disturb the speaker, but you're very welcome to write questions in the chat, which we will be collecting by our technical team in the back office, by Alexandra. And of course, when the presentations are over, we will have 2-3 minutes for exchange, and we will ask all the presentations you have written. And at the same time, if you would like to ask a question orally, you can always raise your hand, your digital hand, and then you can take the floor and ask orally your question. So each presentation will be lasting between 15 and 20 minutes. And then, as I said, we will have 2-3 minutes of exchange. And in the very end, we will also have exchange between everyone, the questions and answer sessions for about 5-10 minutes. As many people asked, this webinar will be recorded and it will be sent to all of you, to all the registered participants, together with all the presentations. So now we can actually start the webinar and we can go to our first speaker, whose name is Alan Vella. And we don't see the slide. Probably there is a technical issue. Alexandra, could you try to fix it, please? Well, we can switch off the slide in this case. We can stop sharing. So our first speaker is Alan Vella, who has been working in various positions at the European Commission and the United Nations as from 2006 onwards. He currently acts as project manager and co-coordinator with the competitiveness and internationalization sector of the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency, EISMEA, in Brussels. He is also the project advisor for DETOUR, whom we are forever grateful for his support and assistance in all the matters for the past year and for the upcoming 2 years. So Alan, thank you very much for being with us today. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm going to switch on my presentation to share it. Can you see it now?
We can see it perfectly.
Perfect, perfect.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you, Luca, also for the kind invitation. I'm very sorry for my voice. As you can imagine, I'm a bit sick today, but of course I didn't want to lose this opportunity to meeting you, the trainers of this interesting project, which I'm very happy to be able to say I'm the project coordinator from the commissions, from the European Commission's side, monitoring the progress being done. And the progress passes, of course, through this phase also, the Train the Trainers program, which is a very important activity in terms of the project and its development. I have two particular parts of my presentation today. One of them is giving you an overview of what EISMEA, the executive agency dealing with this particular funding and project, is all about, because I think it's very important for you to understand a bit better what we represent. And then, of course, to speak about tourism per se, the tourism initiatives being undertaken under this particular program. So the EISMEA is, first of all, this is quite important, one of 6 executive agencies of the Commission, and I work in one of these, which is the first there. But as you can see, there are other agencies of the Commission dealing with other particular areas, be it research, health, education and culture, etc. And all of these deal with different programs. So you've heard of Erasmus, you've heard of LIFE, for instance. These are programs managed by other executive agencies, whilst in our case, we deal with particularly the single market program, which is my particular program, and it's where DETOUR has been financed, but also specific areas, specific aspects of Horizon Europe and of the European Regional Development Funds. And these are colleagues of mine that deal with these particular initiatives, different units too. And in my case, it's SMP, the Single Market Program, which was previously known as COSME. There are about 2,300 projects which we manage as an agency, and it amounts for nearly 2 billion of EU funds. which is quite a sum indeed, but this, of course, refers to the global sum managed by the agency. Now, I said that we had COSME previously, and before this became SMP. And in terms of COSME, the program, and as you can see, it relates to the funding period, what we call the MFF, from 2014 to 2020, was dealing with 4 particular objectives: access to finance, access to markets, business environment, and entrepreneurship. And previously, tourism was funded under the 3rd objective there, which related to the business environment. The COSME program was then superseded by the single market program, and this relates to the period 21 till 27. So as from 2028, we will have another MFF, another funding program, which will incorporate also, of course, the competitiveness of SMEs. And the single market program is effectively the EU's funding program providing high quality support and services to SMEs. It has 3 particular objectives: to facilitate market access and reduce administrative burden, to support the uptake of innovation, and to foster a favorable business environment. And in all these 3 objectives, all these 3 directions, tourism is effectively a very important part, and it relates directly to all 3. That was a brief introduction on what EISMEA is all about. But the most important part, of course, for you and for all of us in this project direction, in your role, also your forthcoming role as trainers, is also the effective use of EU funds for tourism purposes via this particular program. So here, I'd like to emphasize, excuse me a second. Here, I'd like to emphasize the fact that we funded tourism under COSME and we funded tourism under SMP. And prior to 2019, the focus was on the development of tourism products. But as from 2019 onwards, we've focused increasingly on the importance of funding tourism SMEs, how to reach the SMEs directly. So in terms of direction, we changed track. So it was not any longer tourism products. When I say products, previously, before 2019, we were focused on sports tourism, on arts tourism, on all types of, let's call them niche markets tourism. Whilst as from 2019, the focus related to the SMEs and how they could be increasingly in line with the actions of the tourism pathway, of the transition pathway for tourism and the agenda for tourism of 2030. And between 2019 and 2023, by the way, is the year, is the call where DETOUR, where this project has been funded. So between 2019 and 2023, we have managed to fund 35 tourism projects to the tune of 56 million euros. And 30 million of these have been allocated to the more than 3,000 SMEs, the ones, some of these you will be directly in contact with in the form of grants via these projects. Now, 56 million, depending on your perspective, can be a large figure or a small figure. But what I wanted to stress, and this is a very important point, is that it doesn't mean that the European Commission funds only 56 million worth of tourism projects, because as you very well know yourself, you can also tap into additional funds from different programs, be them LIFE, be them Erasmus, be them Horizon, for instance, because tourism is a horizontal area, so you can easily tap into tourism projects, education-related tourism, for instance, via other programs. But the 56 million refers to what we funded under SMP. These are the calls we had over the years from 2019 onwards. Of course, we had other calls before. And in total, these are the 35 projects I mentioned, 6, 9, 10, 6, and 4 in the different years. As I said, DETOUR forms part of the last box there, 2023. It's one of those 4 projects. And the call there had a total of 8.5 million. And each project got more or less, including DETOUR, of course, more or less a budget of 2 million euros each. And the focus was every year on a different area, sustainable tourism, then digitization. We then focused on COVID recovery for the SMEs, then on the twin transition and the tourism ecosystems. And finally, and this is the call we have to in this particular project, on the competitiveness and resilience of ecosystems. So in your trainings, I know you focus on these, competitiveness and resilience, to keep in mind the importance of stressing these particular areas in terms of the knowledge that you will pass on to the different SMEs. What I wanted to highlight here is that our funding reaches everyone across Europe. Here I'm highlighting Italy. Why Italy? Because the coordinator of this project is from Italy, of course, but you can see that the consortia partners that participate in our projects, again, I'm focusing from 2019 till 23, are from all across Europe. There, Italy leads, of course, with 48 consortium partners, followed by Spain. Those are always the 2 countries that are the most aggressive in terms of reaching European funds, 48 in Italy and 39 in Spain, followed by additional countries there. But as you can see, there are quite a few member states. It's not only the southern states that benefiting from our funding. The difference here is between the total budget and the budget for the SMEs. When I say FSTP, it means financial support for third parties. That's the funding given to SMEs. And the difference between the blue column and the orange column is that the blue represents the total budget of the call, whilst the orange one represents that for SMEs. So as you can see, give and take, it's always 50% plus or minus. In the latter years, it's a bit more. That is dedicated specifically to SMEs. And here you see the budget for FSTP, for financial support to third parties. Once again, Italy and Spain leading the way. So it's not only Sinner versus Alcaraz in tennis, it's not only football competition, it's also competition for our funds here at FSTP level, because there are quite a few quite a few SMEs that are interested in our funds. What I have here are 3 consecutive slides extracted from one of the deliverables that Luca and his team have sent to me for approval. I decided to include these because I wanted to show you exactly why such funds are important for the SMEs. And your role also will be to ensure that you improve about the opinions that they gave, that the SMEs are effectively indicating in terms of what directions, what training needs they have in the coming months. And as I said, this is all extracted from what Luca and the team sent me. So please bear in mind with me and understand the importance of these areas which are being highlighted here also by the people that require such funds, such interests, such training needs. So the project's FSTP exercise is bringing tangible business benefits to SMEs, including an expected 15% increase in project margins and a 1.5% increase in return on investment. This is important because it shows you that indeed the training which we provide can have ripple cascading effects in terms of facilitating the growth of the SMEs. And then we start having specific comments on particular areas, marketing efforts, for instance, that need to be enhanced, the extension of the seasonality spread, having a lengthier season, reservations areas, despite the existence of digital booking platforms that offer numerous advantages, take-up remains quite low. So indeed, we're seeing that the SMEs can have training in that regard, can have also some physical interventions in facilitating their reservations area so that perhaps they can focus on other particular areas within the day-to-day activities. I had a case in point, not in this project, but in others. I deal with other projects also. For instance, I had a small bed and breakfast from a mountainous area in northern Italy, for instance, that was managed by the owner plus his girlfriend, and they managed to do everything themselves, but for them to focus on the cooking, on the cleaning, on the different products they offered, the reservations area was kept aside. And in this regard, for instance, they have implemented an AI-generated system to ensure that the first step in terms of feedback is provided directly via AI. And that facilitated the reservation side. It made sure that some basic comments are provided immediately, and that people making the inquiries get the information they deserve with immediate effect. And these are the type of interventions that we seek also vis-a-vis this exercise. In terms of sustainability, impactful training is essential on subjects pertaining to the conservation of energy, waste recycling and control, environmental awareness and risk management. And the SMEs have a deficiency in expertise and practical know-how concerning ecological matters. Here again, of course, this is the environmental side, the sustainability side, and we all know that many a time an SME does not have the time outside his day-to-day matters to focus on these areas because it's seen as something additional, something which is not pertaining to his daily living. But indeed, in this world, in this changing world, it's very important to understand what's taking place within the outer world. So this is an opportunity for them to learn a bit better on sustainability. And the same thing applies with digitalization, because SMEs should be encouraged to extend and expand the use of digital instruments for operations and promotion, besides the efficiency of websites. Once again, an important area on sustainability and digitalization. This forms an integral part of what the Commission calls the twin transition. And finally, I'd like to quote on promotion. That is, the data collected on promotional methods used by SMEs demonstrates that there is room for them to enhance performance. And in terms of social media, improving the digital capacities of SMEs will enable them to improve both occupancy rates and seasonality patterns. So there again, everything is connected one with each other. And what I said before, and what I'd like to repeat, is that these are not words I come out with myself. These are words that Luca and the team from DETOUR have collected themselves, and are directions that need our assistance and your assistance as trainers also to the SMEs. On the basis of that, what are the types of financial assistance that we provide? Well, I've grouped them in 4 areas here. We focus on business models, we focus on market studies, on communication and digital tools and specialized softwares. We also offer travel and accommodation costs in determined circumstances so that this could facilitate networking. We focus, of course, on certification costs in certain areas. I've had projects dealing specifically on certification schemes, for instance, for adherence to Travel Life or Green Key or whatever the certification scheme that the SME prefers. And finally, on public-private partnerships, capacity buildings, and knowledge sharing. And these are all areas that SMEs can tap into to be able to benefit out of our funds. And just one final slide before I finish off, just to show you that indeed the 2023 call was not the last one, because we're envisaging new calls, a 2025 call, which will be published probably in the first quarter of 2026, and this will relate to sustainable competitiveness of tourism SMEs. As usual, tourism SMEs will always be the focal point of our calls, and this will have a budget of around 7 million euros. And another one then is scheduled at the end of 2026 or maybe early 2027, and this will focus on startups and female entrepreneurs in tourism. That's it from my side. Very, very sorry once again for my voice. It's been a bit of a challenge to speak this morning also, but I hope at least it was useful information and that my message has been able to be passed on just the same. Thank you very much, Elena. Thank you very much, DETOUR. Thank you to all of you for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Alan. That was very interesting. And of course, this overview of the work of the European Commission enhancing the SMEs and working on the competitiveness of the tourism segment has given a great insights to our participants and our trainers. Does anyone have any questions? I can see that there are no questions in the Zoom, in the chat. Anyone would like to ask a question right now? Actually, yes. I can see there is a question popping out. How can SME apply for this program?
Yes, an SME can apply via the project. So the SME, usually being a small and medium enterprise, many a times we deal with micro SMEs too, that are family-run SMEs, meaning it's the owner and maybe his partner. This is quite common case. Well, the SME does not have the resources many times to be able to fill in the administrative context needed for applications of this nature. But through this mechanism, FSTP, the SME will be able to apply via the different projects to be able to tap into such funds. How does this happen? Well, DETOUR, let's take DETOUR because we're in the context of DETOUR here, but it's a common approach in all different projects. So what the SME needs to bear in mind is that these opportunities exist in other projects too. And whilst DETOUR is focusing on four specific countries, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 4 or 5, Elena? I think it's 4, right?
It's 4.
Whilst DETOUR is focusing on 4 particular countries, other projects might be focusing elsewhere. So if, for instance, Denmark is not included in DETOUR, it doesn't mean that a Danish SME cannot apply within a context of projects that are also managed via Danish partners. But that would be a different project. Coming back to DETOUR, what is the procedure? Well, in a few months' time, DETOUR will be submitting to me a draft, what we call a draft call, which would be a call for projects, for innovative projects, for instance, relating to tourism, and This call would be including text where the SME will be able to understand what type of interventions, what type of assistance we will be able to give via the projects. A call will be eventually approved from our end, and DETOUR will be obliged to offer it publicly, to issue it publicly, a specific public call, meaning that it will be a competitive call. So, of course, there will be experts who will be evaluating the different applications they receive, and the best will be funded, and the funding usually varies between 10,000 and 30,000 euros, depending on the call, on the particular call. So to reply to your question vis-a-vis this project, rest assured that in 2026, next year, DETOUR will be issuing a call in the 4 different countries of the project, and that the SMEs in these countries will be able to participate accordingly.
Thank you very much, Alan. Actually, we will, during the presentation of Luca, which will be a little bit more technical, he will give a bit more details about how the SMEs can participate. But thanks a lot for opening up this discussion and giving this very clear reply. So right now we are going on to our next speaker, who is Jacopo Bordignon. He is a senior project specialist in the Regional Department for Europe, the UN Tourism, based in Madrid, Spain, where he works since 2021. He has also previous experience working as a policy officer and project manager in the European Commission DG for Research Innovation. A graduate of London School of Economics and Political Science, he is very fluent in very many languages like Italian, English, French, and Spanish. Jacopo, the floor is yours, and thank you very much for accepting our invitation and being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Elena. Thank you, Luca, for your invitation. It's really a pleasure to be here, and also very interesting to hear, well, Alan's presentation, also coming from European Commission World, DGRTD. Let me share quickly my slides. And I hope you can hear me correctly.
Yes, very well.
Yeah. Okay, great, fantastic. All right, so I think I will start with a general presentation, a quick presentation of UN tourism, and allow, make it brief so that also to answer as many questions as I can that you have. So the United Nations World Tourism Organization, as you may know, is the UN specialized agency promoting responsible, sustainable, and inclusive or accessible tourism in the world. So we actually, on a quarterly basis, produce what we call our barometer study. And I thought it was important to sort of contextualize by giving some figures, of the latest barometer, which was published in September of this year, for Europe. So Europe, according to our latest statistic, continues to remain the world's largest destination. We've seen nearly 340 million international tourists in just the first 6 months of 2025, which represents a 4% increase during the same month in 2024, and 7% more than in 2019. So we observe an upward and steady trend. And according to the latest panel of experts that we consulted, this remains to be a positive projection for the remaining time of 2025. So within this context, I am situated in a department for Europe, where we are in charge of developing new policies, new projects with our 41 member states. Now, Europe may sound a bit misleading, but it actually includes Central Asia, of course, for us in our range of countries that we operate with. And as you can imagine, there are very politically complex sub-regions, and a very diverse set of members. And actually, recently, where I met Elena and Luca in Cappadocia was a very interesting setting because the cultural roots really cut across many of our member states. We have in UN Tourism a technical arm, a department which is in charge of developing cooperation projects. As you can see in the blocks below, helping to market, brand, promote destinations, helping even SMEs, businesses, better develop their product, better diversify their product, and integrating that within a broader policy plan or a master plan and development of sustainable tourism policies. And a lot of our past project work was also heavily focused on Silk Road tourism development. UN Tourism was actually one of the founding members, let's put, of GSTC, Global Sustainable Tourism Certification, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, and I think it's very important in this context, developing adequate certification standards for destinations in line with the Green Environmental Directive of the European Commission, of course. This is just an overview of our to give you a global picture of our projects. In Europe, since 2020, overall, we've implemented 87 projects around the world. In Europe, this is mainly focused on Greece, Moldova, Spain, Tajikistan, Türkiye, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. And I will talk a little bit about Moldova because actually later on, as we have a very interesting project on women empowerment and SMEs there. But coming to the topic of the presentation, greening and just improving the sustainability of SMEs, I think it's important in this context to briefly explain to you one of our flagship initiatives, which are innovation challenges, which UN Tourism since several years now has been leading the work on. So innovation challenges, essentially, we ask SMEs in a particular region or around the world to submit their innovative ideas, their innovative work according to set parameters. In this case, what you can see on the slide, we recently held an innovation challenge on artificial intelligence, AI in tourism. And you can see that the aims were to really pick out those ideas, those SMEs which are really far advanced in developing technologies that make the tourism sector more accessible, more sustainable when we think of tourism managing tourism flows. And actually, we can see here that out of the applicants from 84 countries that we got, in total 440 applications, the majority came from Europe. This was a global challenge. And actually, the winner, going back a second, winner was an SME from Brazil called Smart Tour, and they're in fact developing a very interesting AI, which through different GPTs can help local regional authorities make better informed decisions on management of tourism flows, right? And suggesting travel itineraries, travel packages that relieve pressure from very well-known sites to lesser well-known sites, and therefore can provide these kind of solutions in a real time setting. So yeah, just to give you a gist of the type of initiative challenges that we're doing to promote these type of SMEs, and giving them this kind of visibility allows them not only in the future to attain mentoring, but also access to funds. Now that I think of, the European Commission, European Innovation Council, definitely some interesting linkages to make there. This is just an example, again, on the global setting of another challenge that we held with a focus on Morocco, but interesting to note that, in the areas of innovation, we do actually reach out to those SMEs that are really innovating across very diverse areas, natural heritage, cultural heritage and innovation. What measures are in place to preserve patrimony? When you think of the cultural roots, of course, this is an immensely important task. And one area which is, of course, it's always been a focus for the organization, but especially now with recent developments, floods in parts of Southeastern Europe last year, analysis of the impacts of extreme weather-related events and how we can better prepare SMEs, businesses to counter the risks of extreme weather-related events. I see we have here a colleague from European Travel Commission, so I am happy to mention some figures there from their latest studies that travelers actually, one of the main determining factors we see is that in their travel choices, decisions is safety. Are destinations safe? Where do I want to book my next trip? We look at different things, right? Increasingly with heat, OECD has come up with an interesting report, and the term of cool locations, right? Locations that are, of course, more attractive from a climate perspective. And what I'm trying to say here is, yes, we're looking at this area of work with much more focus and helping to develop guidelines, best practices tailored to SMEs, and how in their operations they can embed flexibility and resilience, which are more and more important in the preparation, better planning in the case of a crisis, the management during a crisis, but also the communication means in a post-crisis situation where you're trying to improve visitor perception of a destination once after the crisis has hit. Okay, this is a little bit to explain a bit more globally our portfolio. Apologies for these interruptions. Of our global portfolio on safety and security in the tourism sector. The safety initiative, which is an initiative which originated in Africa, really understanding the needs of member states, of governments, when it comes to, again, preparing for a crisis, a natural hazard, or a man-made hazard. And we've developed over the course of this year, particularly for Europe, a series of capacity building events. So inviting experts to share their knowledge, to share their best practices on how to better prepare governments in the event of a crisis. So interesting here to announce in this context, as we have trainers and a direct link with SMEs. We actually launched an innovation challenge, particularly focused on preparedness, response, and recovery in the event of a tourism crisis. So similar to the AI challenge, but again, inviting startups, SMEs who are developing innovative solutions to enhance the safety, security, and resilience of tourism destinations in Europe. And there are three distinct categories, which you can check directly in the link, which I have inserted here below. And important to say that the deadline for applications has been extended. It's now until 31 January. So in case you should be interested to apply to this call, you still have some time, and I would encourage wider dissemination among your networks. Actually, one other project which I think is also very useful to highlight here. We are developing a program for our Europe region called the Agenda for Europe. And this essentially consists of 3 projects that we think are of high relevance, again, not only for EU27 in this case, but including Central Asian countries. The first project being on short-term rentals, a comparative analysis of the application of legislation in a selection of Southeast European countries, but also including France, Greece, and Italy. The second project being on snow and mountain tourism, assessing the climate change impacts on snow and mountain tourism destinations. And the third project of most relevance in this context is a project that is being coordinated by the University of Ljubljana in Slovenia on supporting tourism SMEs in the green transition. So tackling this what could be let's say tricky challenge of achieving sustainability, but also economic viability of businesses, of SMEs, and addressing the investment cost challenges. So it would be a pleasure if you're interested in right now we're in the data collection, data gathering phase, and jointly with the University of Ljubljana. And if you would be interested to participate in this project, it would be a pleasure to connect after the meeting, after the presentation, as it would be a pleasure again to have you participate, would it be in the data collection, in the survey phase, and understand SMEs along the cultural routes of how they face, this dilemma of piecing together sustainability and competitiveness, economic viability of SMEs. So very shortly, I think of interest is also here a project that we developed, as I mentioned earlier, together with Moldova. We actually completed it last year, and we rolled out a skills training program tailored to female entrepreneurs. And this was really a pilot project and a train to trainers program that we developed really to give a chance for women to in this particular country to develop the adequate skills to perform in the tourism sector, to develop their businesses and have equal chances to carry out a successful business. And this was really a really successful program, and would be happy to share more about the results of this training, also to replicate in the context, in other contexts. I won't delve too much into all the other projects that you can see here that we have developed, but tourism diversification, we in particularly in Uzbekistan, just to reiterate the importance of routes, right? Of creating, in this case, in the region of Kalakatpaklan of Uzbekistan, developing castle trails, new castle trails, combining cultural heritage in previously unexplored areas, and how this boosts SME development in areas that are previously not been discovered. Restoration of ancient patrimony and sites, and in this case, creating new hiking routes, creating new cycling routes to promote tourism in new areas in the Amu Darya River corridor, favoring ecotourism in this case. So just to give an idea, of the technical cooperation that we do on the ground, and to reiterate the importance of the routes, which I know many SMEs are operating domain. So thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you will have at this moment. I think I've left a few minutes, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Jacopo.
Apologies for any interruptions there may have been. The connection was.
Thank you very much, Jacopo. That was very, very interesting and also very practical approach, which is always very much appreciated. I see that there are already comments and questions. First of all, somebody says that this person would like to participate in the Green Transition Initiative. So we already have the volunteers and very motivated people. And then there is a question. Could you tell us a bit more about the project in Greece you referred to?
Yeah, so actually the project in Greece was a very interesting project. We assist destinations, in this case the island of Thasos, to conduct resident surveys. So understanding how do residents view tourism? Does tourism have a positive impact on the island? In general, what is the overall sentiment of tourists, of residents in the Thasos Island? And so and this was particularly interesting from a cultural heritage preservation point of view, because we actually found out that the residents viewed tourism as sort of, let's say, giving a wake-up call, to better preserve cultural heritage, and to use it as a unique selling point, of the destination, and essentially bringing a very significant income to the island. So this was one of a project that we consider the sort of gathering tourism intelligence for a destination, and a very successful one, which we had partnered with a consultancy in this case to carry out the survey. And we developed very, very detailed methodologies to sort of understand what residents think about tourism.
Okay, thanks a lot. Also, well, maybe in a few words about the Turkish project, because that's one more question.
For the Turkish project, I have not that much knowledge, but I'd be pleased to share more information after the presentation.
That would be perfect. And
Yeah.
we are perfectly on time. So thanks a lot once again, Jacopo. And now from Madrid, we are jumping back to Brussels, because our next speaker is Cornelia Keller, who is a research project manager at the European Travel Commission, where she oversees projects on traveler sentiment across long-haul and intra-European markets. Holding a master's degree in international tourism management, she combines research expertise with a passion for understanding evolving travel behaviors. I have to say that the European Travel Commission has been a long-standing friend with us, always supporting, giving information, being very available. So thank you very much, Cornelia, for being with us.
Hi, everyone. So thanks a lot for having me, Elena. All right, so today I'm very happy to be here to deliver some of our insights from the European Travel Commission on what is driving tourists and what they are looking for. Just some more information about us and who we are. The European Travel Commission is an association of 36 national tourism organizations in Europe. And maybe we can switch to next slide. Thank you. And our aim is to strengthen Europe as a sustainable tourism destination, which we achieve through knowledge, data, and insights. Let's jump into some data and trends that we were able to observe. First of all, as we've already heard, good news. Tourism in Europe is growing, which we can see based on international arrivals and international overnights as compared to last year. But there is also an increased willingness of travelers to spend more discretionary spending on travel. We were able to observe based on the third quarter of this year. So basically, data throughout this year until the summer season, as compared to last year. So basically, based on overnights and arrivals growth, we could see several trends coming up in this year, and which is first sun and beach-oriented summer travel, and that you can see coming from growth in southern Mediterranean countries. Sorry, last slide. Yes. Especially on the far left, you can see Malta and Malta and Cyprus as the preferred summer destinations in the Mediterranean. But there was also an increase in growth coming from Spain and Portugal, which you can see more further down the line. A second trend that we were able to observe is recovery, especially in destinations that are still below pre-pandemic levels, such as Finland, Latvia, and Estonia. You can see Finland holding the second place here on this chart, Latvia the sixth one, and Estonia a bit further to the right. A third trend was price competitiveness, which was seen in countries like Poland and Hungary especially, because they were able to capture the trend of travelers seeking a good value for money. And the last trend that was visible was a rising interest in Northern Europe, especially Norway and Iceland, which recorded especially Norway recorded a growth of plus 14% compared to last year in arrivals. That's most of the trends that were really standing out. And on the next slide, you can see that as traveler preferences evolve, consumers are seeking increasingly for value and flexibility. Now, let's put some emphasis on some level of flexibility, because we can see that among the top markets, top travel markets to Europe, we can see that on the left side, there's Germany, China, and the US, who show a clear preference for traveling within the same months over the next 2 years. Whereas on the right side of this chart, we can see that, which is very interesting, that Australians are actually more open to travel during different times of the summer period. This really shows proves a willingness for off-season travel. There is another trend that we can see on the next slides. Oh no, okay, that was another one. But yes, what this slide tells us is that as when it comes to long-haul travel as well as intra-European travel, the sentiment is very, very high. So compared to last year, it's actually unchanged, and travelers are still willing to come to Europe, and this is very promising, especially when it comes to forward-looking data, which I will delve further into a bit later in the presentation. But before we go into forward-looking data, on the next slide, we can see that there's increasing, yes, that AI is a big trend. And there is an increased usage of AI virtual assistants, and the most used AI digital platform is actually online travel agents such as Booking.com and Expedia, which travelers rely on for 50% of responses. But there is also increased usage of AI chatbots such as ChatGPT, for example, which compared to last year grew from 10 to 18%. And interestingly, it's very, very highly used by US and Chinese consumers. US respondents, 27% for US respondents and 40% for Chinese respondents. And another trend that we can see is that it's not on the slide, but there is also a big gap between Gen Z millennials using AI, which is 26%, and then we have Gen X or boomers, which use AI only for trip planning, which use AI for only 8%. Now, these were some trends that we have seen until the summer period, but we would like to give you some forward-looking data as well, which is based on our sentiment studies that is coming from 10 key European markets. And in this study, we asked European travelers about their sentiment over the next few months. This means that this data is is based on sentiment from October 2025 until March 2026. And by the way, the data that is used in this presentation is also publicly available on our website. So whenever you have any questions or would like to have another look, feel free to just access our website or email me. But yeah, let's talk about some more trends that we can see. I've already mentioned that summer travel to Southern European destinations was very high, but even as the weather gets cooler and we approach winter, we can see that actually European travelers still want to go for Southern Mediterranean and are still seeking sun and beach travel, which you can see by an increase of 7%. However, this comes at the expense of Eastern European destinations, which slumped to 4% by minus 6%. But next we can see here we can see more about the travel frequency, which was also very outstanding in this research, as we can observe that travelers are actually planning fewer trips over the next 6 months. Okay, well, over the next few months, as compared to last year, travelers are more keen to plan just a single trip as compared to multiple trips. And again, this is not on the slide, but what is interesting about it is that almost half of those over the age of 55 years now prefer a single trip, whereas younger adults, the number of younger adults planning a single trip is actually just 1/3. And this really tells us that travelers are seeking more value rather than frequency. Which also leads me to next slide. And yes, this one. This shows us that European travelers are also very interested to explore destinations that are off the beaten track or that are not as known. However, we can see in this graph that travelers are kind of in between, because it's 50-50. So 50% of travelers love to go for destinations that are providing those popular hotspots like Paris, for example, Barcelona, big cities. However, the trend of going off the beaten path and exploring lesser known destinations is still obvious and still there. So this is definitely something that we would encourage businesses to capture on. And on the right side of this slide, you can also see that travelers from Italy, the UK, and Belgium have a stronger preference for visiting those popular tourism hotspots, whereas those more interested in going off the beaten path are, for example, Swiss, Austrian, and Dutch travelers. And yes, coming to next slide. Well, this was already mentioned by Jacopo. Oh no, it was not. This is yeah, it was, I think. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one. It's just that when travelers are considering to travel, the most important factor is that they want to be safe. They want to have pleasant weather, which is definitely increasing over the last year. And they want to spend a little money. So this again shows us that travelers are increasingly seeking value and good deals. And the next slide shows us quite the opposite. It shows us, okay, travelers, what they consider, but the last slide showed us what they considered, and this slide shows us what they are concerned about. And here again, number one factor is costs, especially due to rising inflation. And then we have, on the second place, we have economic concerns and personal finances. And third factor is actually still, safety concerns because of the ongoing conflict and geopolitical tensions. But you can also see that a bit further to the right of the graph, we can see that overcrowding for 11% of travelers is also still a factor. And this definitely playing a role, just like extreme weather and disruptions in transport. Sorry, yes. Well, then we can move on. And this was also mentioned by Jacopo. I've seen. So yeah, climate change also a big factor in travel planning, because we can see that the majority is still checking weather forecasts before planning their trip. The majority is mainly picking places that have mild weather, because nowadays it's just getting too hot. So travelers want to avoid overcrowding. They don't want to deal with the heat anymore, and they are increasingly looking for cheaper destinations. This is leading me to the next slide. Just to summarize what we could see in the major trends. Consumers, travel is growing, and consumer spending on travel is expected to grow. And even though we can see that the economy is quite unstable, so to say, and there's a lot of concerns about the financial situation, that travelers or people still want to travel. They still put money aside, and it's still an ongoing priority. However, as costs are a major factor, value for money is a big deal. So travelers increasingly look out for destinations that offer a good value for money. Then there's definitely climate change, overcrowding coming into play when looking for destinations. And this is increasingly influencing traveler behavior. And lastly, AI, digitalization, a big topic nowadays. This is really a big help it can be a big aid in travel planning, and a big trend for SMEs and organizations in general to capture on, but also to promote destinations that go beyond major hotspots and more off the beaten track. And to conclude, we would like to give you just some recommendations that SMEs could consider. And based on the conclusions, we we can recommend that adapting pricing and packages is definitely something that should be considered to encourage longer stays and higher spending and to really maximize visitor value at the destination. And well, since there is a lot, and since climate change is a big topic, and many Europeans check the weather, and adapt to climate change, we would encourage businesses to offer flexible booking and really easy to use online systems to where travelers can change dates or rebook easily and have accurate real-time weather information. And this can actually also be very nicely combined with AI. But yeah, coming to the third point, well, as you can see, as travelers increasingly prefer Mediterranean destinations and still want to continue traveling to warmer places. This is a good, especially during the winter months, this is a good opportunity to encourage off-season travel and highlight the value for money and the mild weather, what travelers are looking for. So yeah, just to maximize the capacity to meet a potential increase in off-season demand. And lastly, as travelers like to explore lesser known destinations, we would encourage small businesses to develop authentic and experience-based products, such as craftsman tours, for example, artisan workshops, cooking classes, to really give an opportunity to connect with locals, and to attract genuine connections and encounters. This can also be supported easily with AI for travelers to find destinations, offbeat destinations, even better, and help them in trip planning. And yeah, that was all. I hope it was interesting, and that I could give you some good insights. And yeah, in case you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, Cornelia. That was great. That was very, very interesting. And we already have lots of reactions in the chat, people asking to receive your presentation. And we have one question maybe, which I'll take because we don't have much time, quite long. Based on the data presented, Italy seems like not having recorded an increase in arrivals, but rather an increase in the number of overstays. So that seems to be indicating quite a conscious form of tourism, an improvement, moving away from the typical hit and run model. How do you interpret this result? Do you agree with this, that it's quite positive?
That's a good question, actually. Yeah, I would say it's definitely a positive result because, well, overnight stays are an indicator that people they don't just only come for a day trip, and that, well, destinations want travelers to stay as long as possible. So overnight stays are definitely a good indicator. But yeah, I would love to look at the report again to give you more details about that. So yeah, in case who asked the question, can I know?
There was one of our trainers from Italy, Gaetana Rubino. She's also a PhD. She's doing her PhD, so that's why it's very precise and very much oriented.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So feel free to reach out to me so I can give you a few more details on this one.
Well, maybe one more question. Please explain the results for Bulgaria on the same slide.
In Bulgaria. Okay, well, I have to check this, but it might be that some countries, well, we gather this data from our members on a platform. It's called TourMes, where they can enter arrivals and overnights data. So in this case, it might happen that some countries just don't have overnight's data available, or that overnight's data was actually so low that it's not visible on this graph. So I have to check this as well. I'm sorry that I can give you an answer for this one. Yeah, but we can see that arrivals have been growing. So this is a good sign at first sight. For overnights, I would have to check if the number is actually that low or if there is no data available.
All right. Thanks a lot. Well, I see there are many more questions to you, which I will send you by email, and then we will distribute your answers among our participants. Thank you very much once again. That was great. And now from Brussels, we are jumping to Italy, to Fidenza, because our next speaker is Luca Broschi, who is the DETOUR project coordinator. He is also a project officer in the municipality of Fidenza and is the director of the European Association of the Via Francigena. He coordinates the UNESCO nomination of the Via Francigena route and is a member of the permanent committee for the promotion of Italian tourism. He is also a journalist, a freelancer, a coach, and just a passionate hiker. So Luca, thanks a lot for being here. Thank you so much for being the coordinator of this project. Thanks a lot for taking this challenge to yourself. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elena, and hello, everyone. And it's a real pleasure to be here and to learn from Alan, from Jacopo, from Cornelia, and from Chala after me. And I'm here on behalf of the consortium, of the DETOUR consortium with 8 international partners that are doing a great job. So a special thanks to all of them. DETOUR. And as you can see, its acronym is Development of Resilient Tourism Ecosystems Along Mediterranean Walking Routes. And indeed, the project supports tourist SMEs along the selected route in 4 countries, in Italy, in Bulgaria, in Greece, and in Turkey. And before starting the presentation, I would like to show you a short video, 2 minutes video. And please, Alexandra, if you can manage the video, it's only 2 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Come back to the slide. Have you seen the sum up of the project? And I'm going to explain you in details now. And before starting, I would like to share with you some general information about the tourism trends today, specifically concerning outdoor activities and slow tourism. Today, we can say that first of all, trekking and hiking is getting popular, and they're attracting an increasing number of young people. That is good. Is a good news. And here we provide some information that demonstrate how this trend is increasing. 50% of the all European tour operators include walking tourism in their product portfolio. And walking tourism is forecast to grow by around 12% per year in Europe between 2019 and 2025. And you can see that a real boom starting after the COVID pandemic. And that is really what's happening on the Via Francigena, for example. And 80% of tourists go on walks during their holidays, even if they don't consider themselves walkers or professional trekkers or hikers. And finally, around 75% of walkers come back to the same area as tourists with family or friends to such routes as the Via Francigena and Camino de Santiago. As you can see, there is a great potential of walking and hiking as a tourist product in Europe. And that is why our DETOUR project is focusing on improving the services along the routes. And during their experience, hikers and walkers certainly need to have access to services, from accommodation, B&B on hotels, on to food, of course, to restaurant and beverage, from the backpack transport, for example, or to technology or digitalization. What about the project? What about the DETOUR project in figures? And DETOUR is a EU-funded project under the umbrella of Single Market Program, as it was mentioned by Alan before, with a total budget of 2 million euros. Its objective is to support small businesses along the walking routes through green and digital translation and boost the resilience of local tourism ecosystems. Thanks to the EU funding, all our research and studies and materials are in open access, and all the activities are free of charge, with some of them having the expensive cover for the participant, for example. The project started exactly 1 year ago. We celebrated the anniversary last month with the consortium in Italy. And the project has a duration of 3 years. We have already done, we can say, quite a big number of activities, and still a lot are, of course, underway. The 4 project itineraries involved are the Via Francigena for the Italian stretch, the Lycian Way in Turkey, the Sultan Trace and the Trace tourist region in Bulgaria, and the network of mountain routes linking Mount Olympus, Kissafos, and Mavrovouni in Greece. This is in short. As you see, have you seen in the video, this is the consortium of 8 international partners. The consortium is led by the municipality of Fidenza, located in the north of Italy, between Bologna and Milano, the north part of Italy. And the other partners from Italy are the European Association of the Via Francigena, also based in Fidenza, in the province of Parma, Training 2000 and DMO ESCO. And there are also 2 partners from Turkey, based in the Antalya region, Cultural Route Society and Antalya Provincial Tourism Management. And finally, Mediterranean Center of Environment from Greece, and Management Organization of Trachea Tourism Region from Bulgaria. As I already told you, Elena mentioned, all partners today are here, and feel free to ask a question at the end of my presentation. I forgot to mention that we also have 3 associated partners, including Sultan Trace Foundation, which is assisting today the activity especially in Bulgaria. Yeah, we can start talking about the first pilot area is the Via Francigena. We have 4 pilot areas. The first one is the Via Francigena, is the walking and cycling route, originally a medieval pilgrimage route. along 3,200 kilometers from England, from the UK. Starting point is Canterbury, crossing England, France, Switzerland, Italy, to Rome. The name is Via Francigena, road to Rome, but the route continued to the very south of Italy and Puglia, and then destination, final destination could be Jerusalem. The three major pilgrimage in the Middle Age was Santiago de Compostela, Rome, and Jerusalem. And if you consider walking the entire route, we have to take 5 months, more or less, but we can start for 1 week or maybe, yes, 1 day, 1 week, probably it's enough. And this is the Via Francigena was certified as a Council of Europe cultural route in 1994, and the European Association Via Francigena is the carrier network of this route. The second pilot area is in Turkey, the Lycian Way, probably you know. The Lycian Way is a long-distance hiking trail along the coastal area next to Antalya, the south of Turkey. It takes its name from the Lycian people who lived in the area from the prehistoric period until they were absorbed into Roman culture. It is around 700 kilometers. This route was conceived by the expert Kate Clow, that she's here today, and Kate also founded the Cultural Route Society, which is a part of our international project. We can move to Bulgaria now, is the third pilot area. The Sultan Trace and Trace tourist region, walking and cycling route along 2,500 kilometers from Vienna to Istanbul. And the route takes its name from the Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent of the Ottoman Empire, and the selected stretch you can see in Bulgaria is the entire Thrace region. And finally, last but not least, in Greece, and the Greek walking trace is around Mounts Olympus, Kisavov, and Mavrovouni, as already mentioned, is an extensive network of walking routes of around 1,500 kilometers square. This is just to give you a synthesis of the 4 pilot areas, and now we try to have to give you some general technical slides to talk a little bit in depth about the DETOUR project. In this slide, you can see the 5 different phases and the timeline, and the specific relating actions. First of all, in the beginning of this year, in winter and spring, we have started with a survey which gathered the needs and motivation of SMEs from the project countries, from Italy, from Bulgaria, Greece, and Turkey. It was conducted between February to May, and it will be presented in detail just after me by Chala from Cultural Route Society. And for the past 4 months, we have been carrying the project Train the Trainers program. It included online meeting, on-site workshop, and this webinar today, which we are hosting now. The next year, we will be launching the SMEs training and mentoring, which will be happening from January to April 2026, and the call is still open till 30 November. There are 3 days left. And the next step is the financial support for SMEs from September 2026 to May 2027. Next year, we will launch the call for collaborative project, and the selective, probably 32 project will receive a grant between 15 to 25,000 euro, and will focus on the sustainability and digitalization on tourist sector along our 4 pilot areas. And finally, the dissemination. We know that dissemination activities are an ongoing project. The communication, dissemination, of course, are essential from the very beginning to the end of the project. But during the last year of the project, we will also participate in international fair, probably in Munich, in Germany, or in Utrecht, in the Netherlands, to decide. So this is an important action to give more international visibility to our project. Train the Trainers, capacity building program. This is the program designed for tourist stakeholders and professionals and consultants, DMO experts, local authorities and academics with experience supporting tourism-related businesses. Around 40 selected trainers in 4 counties were selected. A lot of them, I know, they are following this webinar. I met personally 12 experts in Viterbo last month during the 3-day training in Italy. It was great. And the training packages included the online training, 20 hours in-person training between October and in November. We can say the place where we organized this in-person training in the last 2 months in Viterbo, Italy, Plovdiv in Bulgaria, Antalya in Turkey, and Kerkini Lake in Greece. In Turkey and Greece was last week. Also in this picture, you can see one of the pictures when the trainers received the diploma, their certification received at the end of the 3-day. And then there is, of course, this webinar, which is the final part of the trainer program. So we are very happy to congratulate the new DETOUR trainers. So very welcome to our family. Other technical information about SMEs training and mentoring. As already mentioned before, the next year we will be hosting the SMEs program, the training program. The call is still open for the next 3 days in case someone would like to apply. We have time. The program consists in 2 different parts, the online training and the one-to-one mentoring. The online training has a variety of topics you can see in different 6 lines, covering tourist products development, marketing, sustainability, digitalization, inclusivity, and transformation in tourism. And the mentoring will include the session with our DETOUR trainers that are here today, will assist SMEs in preparation of the innovative project. And a part of this knowledge and skills, the program also provides opportunities for networking and guidance in preparation of collaborative projects to apply for the next mini grant. And finally, there is a slide about the last information is about the financial, the core of the project, the financial support for SMEs in the next 2 years. The financial support, the call will be open, as Ellen already mentioned, next year on 2nd February, and the selection will be done in July, with the project starting in September 2026. SMEs can apply for mini grants of between 15,000 to 25,000 euros to support innovative projects related to one of the project themes. And you can see in this slide some useful information just to have a consortium, maximum 5 entities, minimum 2 entities, at least half of which must be SMEs in tourist sector. And then you can say on the right, the eligible SMEs be legally established with at least 1 year of activity, operating along the pilot areas, as you already mentioned, and operating in the tourist sector or related sector that have an impact on tourism. For example, hospitality, catering, food, wine, tour operators, tour agencies, service providers, craft, tourism and environment guides, related sector, SMEs in the culture and sport sectors. In a case, more information will be provided in our website. I think this is the official website on the focus on the project. You can find all information, news, the call, the video, and so feel free to check on the website and feel free to ask questions if you have some question about this presentation about the tour. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Luca, and thanks a lot for all your ongoing work as a coordinator of the project. Are there any questions? I see no, that we don't have any questions. I think it was very, very detailed, and we do have an ongoing dialogue with all our partners and stakeholders about the project. I also would like to attract the attention of our participants that Cornelia was very kind and answered to all the questions in the chat. So please check the chat for the answers to your questions. And right now from Italy, we are traveling to Turkey, because right now it's the time of the presentation of a colleague, Chala Kosova, who is an expert on the European and international projects focused on tourism development, sustainable tourism, partnership relations, and professional events coordination. She is working as a DETOUR project manager for the Cultural Society in Turkey, in charge of the pilot area in Turkey. So Chala, thanks a lot for being with us. Thanks a lot for your patience, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elena. Hello, everyone. As Elena told, I'm working for Cultural Society, and I want to present today our survey results. As Luca told you before, our project consists on several work packages, and we did a very hard work, but a nice work together with all partners, which is our survey study. And the survey is the source of all our training activities about content, because we needed to define SMEs needs. So I'm now starting with my presentation. The methodology, as Luca told you, the purpose of the survey was to determine the actual situation of SMEs on the operating walking routes in 4 countries. And the scope of the survey study consisted of accommodation, F&B, tour operators, service providers, entertainment, and other businesses. We prepared a questionnaire form which consists of 59 questions, and in the following 10 parts, demographical information, legal status, business services, seasonality, environmental services, environmental awareness, booking and customers, advertising promotion, and challenges and support. With the 4 months, as a result of 4 month studies, a total of 715 surveys conducted with the volunteer participants. And according to the reliability test, 659 surveys were valid for analysis. And we did the analysis of these valid surveys with general and regional characteristics. Here you can see the types of surveyed businesses in all countries. They are mostly consist of accommodation and F&B SMEs. Only for Bulgaria and Italy, the tourist guides rates are a little bit high, but mostly we focused on accommodation and F&B SMEs because their numbers are high in that regions. If you look at the characteristics of businesses, we were wondering if their income are enough, or if they need to work anywhere else during or out of the season, if they are making money, if they are improving or expanding. When the characteristic features of the SMEs and investments are taken into consideration, we can say most businesses are developing, improving, or expanding, and they give importance to improvement efforts. As a result of the consultancy training and mentoring activities to be carried out within the scope of our project, it will be possible for businesses to improve even further. Here you can see a graphic regarding the services which provided by SMEs. By the way, please don't worry about the graphics. I hope that you can read it. But at the end, I will share the whole report with you. I will share the link. So later you can go in and then look the graphics and tables in details. If you cannot read it, or if I skip very fast, please don't be afraid. So an interesting result was in all countries, approximately 90% of the businesses which are offering accommodation, they do not offer camping areas. Here the most offered service is Wi-Fi, you can see, but the other services like trackers needs, for example, kitchen or laundry or other services are quite low here. They are between 20 and 40%. So improvement in diversification of services for the needs and demands of trackers, which are potential customers for SMEs, will increase the business capacity and extend the season. And when the services are developed that hikers need most, the rate at which SMEs attract hikers will increase also significantly. Now we will talk about seasonality. Here you see the business activity level in Bulgaria and Italy, which means occupancy rate more than 50%. In Bulgaria, in Italy, spring, summer, and autumn seasons seems okay. But if we compare it with Turkey and Greece, there is a different picture. So for Italy and Bulgaria, maybe studies can be done for January, February, and November and December to extend the season. But for Greece and Turkey, more detailed or effective works can be done for extend the season. In line with these results, it's clear that SMEs should be supported to extend the season, especially in Turkey and Greece, as I said. And extending the season is one of the original objectives of the action. Now we are on the environmental services and awareness. In that graphic, you see the investments made by SMEs, environmental investments made by SMEs. And if you look a bit carefully, you will see they invested mostly short-term and cheaper issues. And considering the sustainability of businesses and environmental sustainability, the rates of environmental investments are low. What I mean here, the long-term and long-term beneficial environmental investments are low. And SMEs need to be informed about the long-term benefits of environmental investments for both environment and for their businesses. I mean, environmental sustainability and sustainability of their own businesses. Here are some graphics and tables regarding environmental services and awareness. On the first one, we asked SMEs if they are informing their customers regarding natural risks. And here are the results. The green are yes, and the red ones are no. So the highest rate is in Türkiye about informing customers regarding natural risks. Here, the second graphic is about the water recycling. Unfortunately, red lines means no, we don't recycle water. And here this table shows us the rates of having environmental certificates. Turkey has a very high number or high rate for having environmental certificates. But the reason is that in Turkey there is an obligation for having your license. You have to have environmental certificates, or you have to be trained. If you don't have the certificate, you cannot continue with your business, or you can not have the new license for your business. That's why the percentages are very different. But for other countries, more than 80% of surveyed SMEs has no environmental certificate. And when all the results for environmental services and awareness are evaluated, SMEs' lack of knowledge and experience on environmental issues, it's obvious, we see that. Effective training is required on issues related all these topics like energy, water saving, recycling, waste management, or environmental awareness. Now, we are skipping to reservations and customers. We want to, sorry about that. We want to see how their digital behaviors are. By the way, can you hear me now? Is my voice okay for all of you?
Yes.
We can hear.
Yes, yes, it's perfect.
Okay, okay. These two tables shows us that the first one shows how the SMEs used to make reservations, and the second one how they confirm the reservations. As you can see here, using phone or message rates are really high, which shows us about 50% of SMEs don't prefer to use digital tools for making or confirming reservations. Here, we ask to the SMEs how many percentage from their customers are consisted of trekkers. I mean, walkers, trekkers, cyclists, or pilgrims for Italy, for example. And the answers are quite low. And these results may show that SMEs are far behind in digital marketing and mapping applications. Or it may show that SMEs are filling the seasons with non-road users or with other customers. Here we can see the age groups of their customers. The age groups are mostly consisted between 45 and 46 and 60. The other age groups are not our customers, let's say. This is an interesting table because we ask SMEs which reservation and booking platforms they are using for their reservations. And for all countries, these dark gray columns are the answer for not using. That was a bit surprising for us, but all of these applications or platforms are, some of them are new, and SMEs don't prefer to use them, but there are too many advantages. So the picture looks like this regarding the booking platforms, usage of the booking platforms. In general, when we evaluate the reservations and customers' behaviors, we see that the methods of taking reservations are inadequate in the rapidly digitalizing world. Although there are digital reservation applications, as I showed you, which provide many benefits for users and SMEs, the usage rates of these applications are quite low. Therefore, projects, training programs can inform SMEs more about these practices. And in addition, the low proportion of trackers as customers and the limited diversity of age groups and demographics indicate that significant improvements can be made in promotion and advertising efforts. Now we are on the digital world. We ask some questions to SMEs regarding their digital competencies and skills. And this graphic shows the answers, which digital tools or software they use for operation and marketing. Mostly we see MS Office programs for operations and marketings used. But also there are some SMEs which are using budgeting or financial software or software for scheduling and booking accommodation. But not using rates are relatively higher than we expected. Here on this table, we see a surprising result. We asked SMEs if they have websites or not. Except Italy and Greece, the other rates are a little bit sad. About half of the SMEs, they don't have websites. But Italy and Greece has success about this issue. When we evaluate the general digital skills, by the way, this graphic shows the mapping applications. There are very beautiful mapping applications which are very useful for users and SMEs. And we see here Google Maps and Google Earth are mostly used by SMEs. It's between 70 and 90%. And when we evaluate the general digital skills and competencies, significant incentives should be provided for issues such as increasing the digital tools used for operations and marketing, or increase the take-up of websites. And it's very important to raise awareness and disseminate mapping applications, which will provide a great benefits for both SMEs and users. Although the social media use is widespread between all SMEs, but they should be encouraged to use this platform more effectively. Improving the digital capabilities of SMEs will provide significant benefits in terms of both occupancy rates and seasonality. We asked SMEs about their advertising and promotion habits, and here we see how they promote themselves. Please don't see this graphic until 100%. It finishes here with 27%. We see here SMEs use mostly social media and their website for promotion. And according to the data collected regarding marketing and promotion revealed that there is a scope for SMEs to improve. Training and consultancy activities to be carried out within the scope of the project will provide significant benefits in this regard. At the end, I will share with you the link for the report. So there you will see the other detailed analysis and questions and answers. Our last section for the survey is challenges and supports. We ask SMEs if they face any challenges while operating on the walking route. Less than 2% of all participants stated that they do not face any challenges. And other challenges that SMEs face, you see here on the graphic. Bureaucracy is a very important problem in Turkey. And we see here the length of the season, as we can see with the graphics, is a problem for Turkish and Greek SMEs. Lack of employee is important for Bulgaria. And advertising and marketing is also answered as a challenge by SMEs. And we asked them about their training needs. You will see here, we asked them which one they find useful or useless. For Bulgaria, we can say developing the diversified tourism offers and sustainable tourism development are important. In Greece, we see another table, risk management and resilience planning, digital skills and technology integration, and developing diversified tourism offers are important. For Italy, digital skills and technology integrations is again like Greece, and English language courses or financial management for SMEs are answered for useful trainings. And for SMEs in Türkiye, the most important training topic is risk management and resilience planning and basic English language courses, we can say. For the end, if I need to summarize the suggestions, the facilities and services offered by SMEs need to be increased and diversified. And it's necessary to carry out effective work to extend the active season, especially for Turkey and Greece. Environmental awareness needs to be increased. Recycling works need to be encouraged and long-term environmental investment need to be recommended. And the use of reservation platforms and mapping applications should be encouraged by our trainers. Social media channels should be used more effective and user-focused. And for digital marketing efforts, support should be provided for our SMEs. I thank you for your attention. It was really nice to meet all of you. If you have any questions, I'm here, and now I will share the link for the report.
Thank you
on
very
chat.
much, Chalar. Thanks a lot. That was very interesting. And of course, the statistics and thorough research should always be the base, and is the case for us, the base for our work and for our training modules and for our support and work with the SMEs. I think that was very, very detailed, and you can see lots of applause coming your way. So you did a great job. Thanks a lot for your research.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for your tireless work in the Turkish pilot and for your contribution to the DETOUR project. I see we don't have any questions. And also, all the questions were already asked and answered after each presentation, so we can conclude here. Thank you very much, everyone, for being with us. Very shortly, you will receive the recording and also all the presentations from all the speakers. Keep in touch. Thanks a lot once again, and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Grazie a tutti.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.